Let's talk. As some of you might know, I was the autocrat for Wiesenfeuer, the Barony of Wiesenfeuer's first in-person event, our Yule Revel, last year. And it's kind of expected that the autocrats will stand up and will thank everyone who's helped them run an event. Now, I don't want to get into the details of why my event was a little more harebrained than it could have been. But I do want to highlight what I did say at the end of court. And I told everyone, I stood up and I said, everyone here who was part of the planning and execution of this event and who stepped in at any point from when I first contacted my deputies 2 months ago, 3 months ago, to the people I contacted 3 days ago about last minute changes. I need everyone to stand up. And of the 105 people there, I think like 18 or 19 stood up. And then I turned around and I turned to the audience. And I turned to everyone else there, and I was also the prince and princess of our then newly formed principality and the landed baronesses of Wiesenfeuer, and I said, these people's actions together is a story worthy of heroes. If you want to know, if you want to honor their story, I challenge each and every one of you to find one of these people and ask them their individual story and what they did to help make this happen. And at the end of the day, that's something we really should be doing more of. We should be reaching out and asking, what went into making this meeting happen? Who is here setting up? Who cooked the cookies that everyone was waiting for? Who mixed the lemonade? The little stuff. Who contributes to that? Who set up the classroom for us for the lecture that we held? Who set up the archery stands at last month's or last week's archery practice? Who cleaned all the knives off after knife throwing practice got cut short because of a rainstorm and he had to make sure the metal didn't rust? Who made sure that the agenda was in order for the last officers' meeting? These are individually, they're all fascinating little stories. But when you ask it enough, you start noticing a pattern. You start hearing some of the same names over and over again. It's the same person painting the scrolls at the last minute before an event. It's the same person making sure the feast servers are in good order for the next feast. Or it's the same 2 or 3 people who are always out at that archery practice or shiv practice or rapier practice, making sure the armor is there, make sure the loaner armor is available, helping to check equipment, helping to marshal the fights. And yes, we should be asking that. We should be reaching outside of our normal comfort zones. But let's turn this on its head, because there's a much more convenient way of doing this. Some of the most remarkable things that happen in the SCA, some of the most remarkable conversations, some of the most remarkable relationships, some of the most remarkable deeds happen before the smallest of audiences. 2, 3 people maybe see these things. And what do I mean by remarkable? What do I mean? Oh boy, what do I mean by remarkable? I mean the guy who runs into town at the last minute, puts $150 on his credit card because you need something for feast. I mean, sure, he's going to be reimbursed, but that's still, got to put it on his credit card. He's got to run into town. He's got to come back at the last minute, possibly in hot weather or cold weather, depending on the time of year. It's not a small deal. Or the guy who runs across town 40 miles out of his way to pick up a friend because the friend's car broke down. I've seen that happen a lot. I remember one time my car broke down in Oklahoma City when I was still living in Stillwater. I was an hour into what was supposed to be a 4.5 hour trip. And a friend of mine, they called me up and they said, hey, if you can get over to my place, come get my keys, take my car, bring it back when you're done. And we borrowed someone else's car. It was 4 of us. We loaded it down and we drove down and we drove back. Just like that. No one is ever going to know about that story aside from the 4 of us and the person that loaned us the car unless we told them, unless we told other people, unless we told that story. Who have you told about your cool stories? Who have you told about the amazing things you've seen? How about a teacher for that class that you really liked? Have you told other people how awesome that teacher was? How about someone who helped you make that item of garb you really like, or fit the shirt, or get the pants or the skirt or the hem just right? Have you told the other officers? Have you told your friends about this person? Have you said how awesome they were, that they helped you out? Not a rhetorical question, have you? Have you put energy and effort into making sure people know about the awesome people and the awesome things you see around you? Because that's really important. It's not just award recommendations. I know this sounds like some build-up to, oh, well, we do this with award recommendations. And no, that doesn't start or stop with award recommendations. It shouldn't. It must not. This isn't about awards. And yes, award recommendations are important, but if we only ever talked about things that were truly worthy of royal recognition and rank and royal largesse, so much would go untalked about. And it's not just that things don't all measure up to the award, but so many awards are not a single act that gets you there. It is a body of work. And part of that body of work is talking about all the little things. No, this person is not a grant holder in arts and sciences because of one arts and sciences project. But you can bet the 35 classes that they have taught and the 25 competitions that they have entered with documentation, even though they didn't win anything, the 25 times they have entered competition with good documentation and good display, you can bet the knowledge that all of that took place contributed to their getting their grant of arms in arts and sciences, whether that be Ansteorran or anywhere else. That person who's probably never going to get an award because nothing they do really falls into any of the tracks. They don't do arts and sciences, they don't do combat, they don't do service. You know, you can't box them in, but they're still an awesome person. No, they may never be eligible for an award, and they may never won an award. I know plenty of people who awards are the farthest thing from their mind. But the community as a whole, don't you think they deserve to know how awesome this person is? I'm not saying take out a billboard and brag about them, but when conversations come up about the hard worker or the friendly soul or the safe person to talk to or the confidant or the researcher or the librarian or the helping hand, do we just leave it to others to tell the story of what we know? I can tell you stories about stuff that 2 or 3 people witnessed. I was one of them. And if none of us had said anything, no one would ever know about them. Is that fair to the people that I mean, granted, very few people in the SCA are self-aggrandizing. The overwhelming majority of people I know don't do any of this for publicity or for recognition. That's the farthest thing from their mind. And I'm not saying that sarcastically. Some of the hardest workers I know, for them it's reflexive. There's work that needs to be done. I'm going to go do it. That's the beginning and end of their thought train. That's how they work. But we know our society is better for their selfless, hard efforts. And it's gets even better when people know about those selfless heart efforts. I think we can all agree that hard work and dedication in any field is a mark of character. It is a mark of, it's a mark of respect. It is something to be taught. It is an example to be set out. And when we don't talk about these things, when we don't tell people what we see with our own eyes, when we don't tell our seneschals or our nobles or our peers, hey, did you know that this person did this? Or did you know this person helped with this? Or did you know this person was instrumental in making sure this happened? Their stories die. They die in obscurity. And the society that thrives on good news, the society that you and I play in, that thrives, it seeks out good news like that. It seeks out good people. We've just deprived it of another good story, of another good person, because we don't talk. We don't talk about these people. We all sit in our circles and kibitz, and we never hesitate to complain. We never hesitate to complain about so-and-so said this, or so-and-so complained about that, or so-and-so is acting like a jerk. Never fails. Guilty as charged. I'm not pointing fingers. I know human nature. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not even going to tell you to stop. Some things are worth complaining about, and that's not the point of this video. But we need to talk about the good things we see too. Is there any point to it? I mean, are we doing this strategically? Not really. I just want my friends and my people in my social circles to know how awesome the other friends and the other people in my social circles are. When enough people talk about the same person, awards will sort themselves out. But at the end of the day, all you really should be concerned about is making sure other people know about the awesome people out there. Because we can't leave it to everyone else. We can't sit back and pretend that everyone else is going to do that job for us. Because they're not. Because everyone else is waiting on everyone else. And a lot of really good, hardworking people go unnoticed because of that metric. We call it word fame, but that's just the modern parlance for it. If you go to the Trimaran Populace Facebook group, I think their tradition is Word Fame Wednesday. And someone will post and will invite, they'll talk about someone awesome or something awesome they've seen in the last week, and they'll invite others. And some of those comment threads can get really long. People will go on there and brag about their friends or about accomplishment they've seen. They'll talk about heroism or selflessness. I've seen it done in Glen Aubin a few times. Ansteorran, we've tried. I'd really like it to get more bite culturally. I'd like to see more just random post of, I think you should know how awesome this is. And to be frank, I'm just as guilty. I don't do it as much as I should. But there's a lot of ways to do it too. Conversations, social media, absolutely. Actually, a little side note here, the Wiki. The Ansteorran Wiki, and there'll be a link to it in the show notes down below. If you look at individual profiles, think of someone you know. See if they have a wiki. See if they have a wiki page. Go to the wiki, go to the link down below, and search for their SCA name. Scroll down, and there's a section called PPI, Populace Provided Information. That's where you get to tell some of these stories. You get to talk about, this person made this awesome thing. This person taught this great class. This person helped me out. It's an open bulletin board to say awesome things. Now, don't try and say anything negative. Not only will it probably not get posted, but you probably are going to make the administrator just a little miffed at you. But seriously, go try it out. I'm serious. Down the link. Go click on it. And that doesn't mean all the non-Ansteorrans are off the hook. A bunch of you know us. Go see if the people you know are on there. See if there's something cool or interesting or funny that you want to tell. Because that builds the story. That builds the story of the SCA. It builds the story of the kingdom. It builds the story of the person. And it builds your story. Because you now become the author of one of those chapters. You get to craft someone's legacy, or at least part of it. Think about that. You get to help build someone up. Now, I know there are people out there you want to build up. We all have them. We all have a list of people that we, maybe small, maybe large, people that we want to recognize. And we want other people to recognize how awesome they are. That's called, right now it's called word frame. They'll probably come up with another term for it in a few years. Heck if I know. But the core concept stays the same. So who do you know? Who's done something awesome? Who's done something amazing? Who's done something that's changed the course of your life, or maybe just made a rough hour in the afternoon a little better? Who in the SCA has helped make this game a little more fun, a little more adventurous, a little more knowledgeable? Who's helped make it better? It's your job. Yours and mine, both. This is on me too. We need to talk more about those people. We need to make sure their stories are told more. Whether that's the Ansteorran Wiki, whether that's your kingdom's web resources, whether that's social media, or whether that's at a meeting, or whether that's over dinner after the meeting, or whether it's over an event. You got plenty of opportunity. But that's what you need to do. You need to start talking about the positive. You need to start bragging on the people who do amazing things. Because when you don't, when we don't, those stories, those amazing, heroic, awe-inspiring stories, they die with no one ever having heard them. And that's a tragedy. What stories do you have to tell, and who do you have to tell them about? Tell me. Tell the world. Till then, I'll see you at the next event. Goodbye, and God bless.